work with the new, not the petitioner, but the new property owners if they want to move that location of the driveway. There will still be a no vehicular access statement along South Street and along Eastland Drive. City Barbecue is the proposed user for Lot 2. Lot 1 we don't know about at this stage. Oops. So I think there are 5 conditions of approval. Yes, 5 conditions of approval, all of them standard. We are recommending conditional primary approval.
Thank you, Kathy. Does the petitioner or the petitioner's representative want to make a presentation?
Is my audio coming across okay?
It is.
Okay, thank you. Joe Coates with CNS Surveying, 820 Longacre Drive, Lafayette, 47905, representing the petitioner, RDS LLC. This is pretty straightforward, splitting a big lot exactly in half to be able to have 2 different commercial uses out of it. We have the staff report. We appreciate the recommendation for conditional approval. The only thing that's unusual out of this is the no vehicular access, but that actually already exists on the platted lots. So obviously we'll continue that with the replatting of the lots. Otherwise, we appreciate your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any citizens' comments? Ryan, do you have any? Is there anyone in the chambers, or do you have any comments online?
David, is there anyone in the room?
We do have 2 people in the room. Are you folks interested in this case? Just 1 second, everybody.
Okay.
I can tell you we presently have no social media comments.
Okay.
We'll see if the folks in the room are interested in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that the folks in the room are not needing, hold on. I can't hear you. Okay, do they have comments or questions? We'll beg for just a couple more minutes, if you will. I think there's maybe a language barrier. So no comments? Very good. Okay, thank you. There's no comments from the room.
Thank you, David. And Ryan, still nothing on social media?
No comments.
Okay. Do the commissioners, any of the commissioners have any comments or questions? Hearing none. Eric, would you call the roll, please?
Absolutely. When I call your name, please signify your vote by saying conditionally approve or deny. I believe Jackson is still absent, so Gary Schroeder,
Conditional approval.
Gary Reynolds,
Hey, Jerry, I think you're on mute. I saw your lips moving.
Conditional approval, pardon me.
good. Kathy Parker,
Conditional approval.
Larry Levering,
Conditional approval.
Tom Murtaugh,
Conditional approval.
Greg Jones.
Conditional approval.
That is 6-0. Conditional approval, 1 absent.
You also have a paper ballot or a digital ballot that you need to mark as well. If you would do that, that came out in the email. And Don, if you'll let us know when you have those.
We have 6 responses, all for conditional approval.
Thank you, everyone. That motion passes then. Next item is approval of the April APC public hearing agenda.
I move that the following subdivisions petitions be placed on the April 21st, 2021 Area Plan Commission public hearing agenda at petitioner's request. Placement thereon being without reference to compliance or non-compliance with the adopted subdivision ordinance. And those would be S 4988 Menards Minor Subdivision, a replat of Lot 6 and Maple Point Subdivision Minor Sketch, and 4989 Mock Major Subdivision, a replat of Lot 1 Major Preliminary.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries.
I move that the following rezoning petitions be placed on the April 21st, 2021 Area Plan Commission public hearing agenda. That would be Z 2817, Dumo Development Company, LLC, President Flats Plan Development, R1 to PDRS. Z 2819, Lafayette Neighborhood Housing Services Incorporated, Jeffersonian Plan Development, PDMX to PDMX. Z 2821, I Build Properties LLC, I3 to GB. Z 2822, Tippecanoe Development 2 LLC, R1B to R2. Z 2823, Tippecanoe County Area Plan Commission, FP R3, I3, R2, R1, A, NB, and GB, 2, FP, GB, R1, NB, A, and R3. Z 2824, Tippecanoe County Area Plan Commission, R3, R2, FP, R1B, R1A, R1, PDRS, and I3 to FP and R2. 2820 Z 2825, Hardebeck Development LLC, Grace Woods Rural Estate 2, A to RE. Z 2826, Purdue Delta Tau Delta Association Incorporated, CBW to R3U, and Z 2827, Joshua Shivers R1 to AW.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carried as well. Approval of the March ABZA public hearing agenda, Gary.
I move the following petitions be placed on the April 28th, 2021 Area Board of Zoning Appeals public hearing agenda. BZA 2052, Fox Acquisitions LLC, and BZA 2053, Casey Giles.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries. Determination of variances, Lafayette Division of ABCA.
I move the following request for variance from Unified Zoning Ordinance are not requests for use variance prohibited from consideration by ordinance and statute. That's case 2021-14, the Navy Club of Lafayette, and case 2020-15, Rebrenna Properties LLC.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Review of and approval of the March budget report.
I move we approve the March budget report as submitted.
I second.
David,
Sir. For the
March budget.
March budget report, I'm sorry, there's an echo I'm trying to get used to. Pretty standard fare. We have legal services, travel costs and mileage, published legal notices, some dues and subscriptions, and some office supplies. The legal services amount is about a quarter of a year's worth. So it's accounting for December through March of this year. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. We have no other business unless Commissioner has any. Hearing none. Gary, I will take a motion.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
So moved. We are adjourned. Okay. Eric, let me know when we can go with ordinance.
We are fine. It was set for 4:40, so we're in good shape. You may proceed.
All right. Just a second here. I'm doing this all on computer, so I have too many screens going here. There we are. All right, I will call to order the April 7th, 2021 Ordinance Committee meeting. And first item of business there is the approval of minutes from the March 3rd meeting.
I move we approve the minutes from the March 3rd, 2021 meeting as submitted.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. We have left over our business today is just two minor amendments from the February AO meeting that we talked about last time and we're not comfortable sending on to the full commission. Kathy, is this yours?
Yes, Larry, this is mine. So,
Okay.
yeah, Larry's correct. Last time we met, there were 4 proposed minor amendments. 2 of them passed, and 2 of them you requested that we take it back to AOs and discuss it further. So we did that at the March administrative officers meeting. So the 2 remaining topics are electrical contractors building size limitation and shipping containers. So let's talk about the electrical contractors building first of all. If you'll remember, there's this footnote 8 in the use table of the zoning ordinance that limits building construction contractors, construction specialty trade contractors limits them to 5 acres of land or more and a maximum gross floor area of 5,000 square feet. The problem was we had an electrical contractor that needed a 7,200 square foot building. They had to rezone to GB because of this footnote, basically. So what we're proposing is taking that standard out of the use table so it can be varied, basically. So where it's in gray and X'd out, that would come out of the footnote in the use table. We would add see section 41114 for further requirements in AA and AW zones. And then that new section would be right here. So these uses which are permitted by special exception in these zones shall be located on properties with a minimum of 2 acres with the largest building's maximum gross floor area of 8,000 square feet. So we're bumping it up from 5,000 square feet to 8,000 square feet, and we're putting it in a part of the ordinance that they could get a variance if needed. Are there any questions about that? No questions?
No questions?
I just have a comment.
Yes, Gary.
Having just here a case where we had to rezone to GB, I just like the idea that we've addressed this situation and made it workable, and we have it in the section of the ordinance where they can get a special exception. So we got a kind of double workaround there. And I remember hearing a variance of another contractor, electrical contractor out in the country, and that was many years ago, but it does come up from time to time. And so I think it's a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Eric, do we need a voice, a motion and a voice vote to take this on to the full APC?
Yes, please. And I think for the record, if we could show that all members of the ordinance committee are present, except for Jackson Bogan. Wait a minute. Is Vicky?
Oh, wait, we did not.
Is Vicky present?
Yes.
Okay, so the record could reflect that all members are present except for Jackson Bogan.
I think Jackson.
Now.
And Jackson's here?
Jackson is here.
All right, so all members are present. So as far as a voice vote, that would be fine. And you can just declare whether it was unanimous. If it's not, then we'll want to take a roll call. But in general, if it's unanimous, you can do it by voice vote. Otherwise, you have to back up and count the votes.
Okay, thank you.
I move that we send to the full commission with our positive recommendation to adopt the electrical contractors building size limitation. And I think that's a couple items, footnote 8 and new section 411-14 as submitted.
I second.
All right, all those in favor of sending this on to full commission signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. That is a unanimous vote to carry this to the full APC on the 21st. So Kathy, the second one of these.
So the second one is using storage shipping containers as storage, basically. This is something that Mike Wolf has been getting a lot of phone calls about. So he wanted us to take a look at this, so he had some guidelines to give people when they call. I should point out, first of all, we're not talking about using shipping containers for a residence, like making it a house, which you probably have seen a couple of times. I think there's one on 4th Street in Lafayette, actually. We talked about that a little bit in AOs. We decided not to touch that, to just let the Indiana Building Code take over, and we wouldn't put that in our ordinance. As long as they meet Indiana Building Code, it's fine. So this really just has to do with using these shipping containers for storage. So we did talk about this. We tweaked this a little bit. So now the proposal says a maximum of 2 metal shipping containers used for permanent on-site storage shall be allowed at a farming operation. That's SICO1, which is crop production. SICO2 is livestock production. And that would be in any zone and no more than, in any zone. So it's a farm, doesn't matter how it's zoned. As long as it is a farm, they would get 2. Then it goes on to say, no more than 1 shipping container shall be allowed as an accessory use to a residence located on a minimum of 2 acres on non-residentially zoned property. So in other words, a parcelization that's zoned A or AW could have 1 a shipping container. And then we went on to say that we don't want them stacked on top of each other. They have to meet building setbacks for an accessory building, and they need a permit. And then just to clarify, the pods that some people use for storage, that's like, I think they put a container in your driveway and you can put stuff in it and then they take it somewhere else. That's this paragraph here. Metal shipping containers that are used for residential storage on a temporary basis in any zone shall be allowed on site for no more than a period of 30 days or at the AO's discretion. And I think we added that AO's discretion in case we're talking about a natural disaster or a fire or some, we don't want to make people get it out of there in a hurry if they do have a good reason for having it. So, any questions about any of that? I know Gary wants to talk a little bit about this, the farm limitation.
Kathy, question on that. What about the issue where you've got somebody remodeling a house and, 30 days is not an ample amount of time if someone's getting a kitchen or something along those lines and they're going to park this in their driveway. And I apologize for my mic clarity. I know it's tough, but assuming that, is that what the AO's discretion is for as well?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I appreciate the AO's discretion on that. I'm talking about that specific sentence, but I'm wondering, I'm with Jackson right now. I just feel like most renovations probably are going to take more than 30 days. And I don't know, I'd almost like to see 4 months to 6 months on that, because it's like, why should this person that's undergoing this renovation have to keep going back to the AO to go, can I get another extension? Can I get another extension? When maybe out of the gate, we knew the project was going to take 6 to 7 months or something.
I agree with that also, because my remodel took 3 months. And each time I had to go back to the homeowners association and ask for a 30-day extension. So the homeowners association really had an input in it also.
Oh, this is Eric. Maybe one thought would be that you tie it to the building permit and make it the same timing as the building permit. I don't remember what those building permits look like, but are they broken down to phases, or is it just one building permit for a length of time?
Yeah. Well, it can be in phases, but generally a building permit is good. I think it's for a year.
I agree. It's a year, which seems like a long time. And that's why I was wondering if they're broken down. This is the demolition phase or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But, if you've got giant cardboard boxes coming in at the last 2 days of the project to put in for the refrigerator. They're going to throw them in the dumpster also, and so maybe it's somehow tied to the building permit, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, this isn't for a dumpster. This is for a metal shipping container for storing things while something's going on.
Okay, good point. But the same point being that as long as you got the project going because you got a building permit, then the need probably exists.
You think a period of 3 months?
I'd recommend at least 90 days and then leave at the AO's discretion in there so that they can make it the duration of the project. Because they won't have to go back every 30 days to the AO, would they?
Not if it says 90.
Well, I don't think there's an actual, well, I guess what are we saying is going to say 90 on it?
I mean, I think the way it would be worded is if you've got a 90-day time limit, and anything beyond that's going to be AO's discretion. So if you needed another month or two, you could get it, but you start with a 90-day period, which is yours without asking any more.
And I think it means at the end of 90 days, if you go back to the AOs and say, look, I'm going to need another 90 days, the AO could say, okay, another 90 days. It's not like they have to keep coming back and back.
Yeah, okay, so it's not every 30 days they're going to have to go through that. And then what's the process to get in contact with the AO? Is that a simple phone call? I need another 90 days, and they say yay or nay?
I mean, generally these things work whenever a neighbor complains, honestly.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And I'm good with 90 and AO's discretion.
Yeah, if you have a fire renovation is going to take 6 months.
Well,
Kathy, if you get your 90 days, or does the AO have the discretion under this, or do we kind of tie their hands? But do they have the discretion if I go to the AO and say, look, I've got a project going here and this is going to take 9 months to complete. Can you just give me 9 months for this? Does the AO have that discretion?
I think so.
Without going back in 90 days.
I agree. The AO's got that discretion unless we make it a shorter term. And I think that's the discussion we're having right now. If you just leave it as a building permit item, then I think you're going to be able to take care of that. And I think so really all you're looking at is an AO's discretion.
Eric, I'm not sure we're on the same page with that. I'm just saying at the beginning, I know this project's going to be 9 months. Can at that point the AO say, okay, I'm writing this off for 9 months, and I as the homeowner don't have to go back to the AO until 9 months is out? Or when we say 90 days or whatever time it is, if we say 90 days, can the AO only approve for a 90-day period?
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. I think we're okay with the language, but we could tighten it up. As it is, it'll be allowed for no more than a period of 90 days or such longer period at the AO's discretion is how I would suggest it be stated. So then it's clear that at that time they could make it longer if it's clear that it's going to need a longer time period.
I like that.
So then I think you cover the standard at 90 days, and then the AO can modify that and make it longer.
Okay.
I think that language would be fine.
Okay, thank you. Gary, you had a comment.
Gary here, one quick comment. I like the edit on the fly there, Kathy. I saw you change that, so that works. And I think Kathy kind of commented how it works. Somebody's going to park it there and nobody's going to complain, or nobody has a problem until somebody complains, and then they'll say, how long's it been there? what's your reason? They'll make a reason. So I don't see it as a big deal. I doubt that our AOs are driving around checking on these unless there's a complaint. So I think I'm good with 90 days with the changed language.
Okay. So Gary actually called me earlier today about the shipping containers on farms. So you want to tell them what you told me, Gary?
I did, and after we talked about that, I talked to a few farmers and have a few more thoughts about that. But I checked with a farmer that I call a small farmer by today's standards, which is a couple thousand acres, who has a lot of storage buildings, and they thought 2 would be fine for them. They thought that was an appropriate number. Then I talked to another farmer that farms probably 7,000 acres and has a lot of buildings, but they have a lot of equipment. And when I mentioned 2, he said, I could fill 2 right now, 4 would be better. So I'd talked to Vicki about that also, because I know she's involved in farming. I don't know if she has any feedback, but if we set it in stone, they can't get a variance from that. Or can they get a variance if they need more than?
Yeah. This is not going to be in the use table. It won't be in the definition section. It'll be in chapter 4, which is variable. So,
okay. I don't know if Vicki has any comments, because I did call and ask her what she thought, but for some people 2's fine. As I told Kathy, most farmers today are fairly well capitalized, and most of their marginal farming operations over time get phased out. And as I thought back, as I drove down as I live in the country, the neighbor had an old rail car that was used for storage, and they had to be there 70 years, and it was made of wood, finally deteriorated, and then went away. They cleaned it up. And then the next portable storage are semi-trailers, and you still see some of those parked around because when they're no longer roadworthy, people will use them on that. And so I think shipping containers are the next one that is kind of a recycled option. And the ones I've seen are well placed and really don't look much difference in a storage shed. So I'd be fine with 3. I'd be fine with 3 if they can get a variance. If somebody had a particular use that their farming operation required this storage, they could accomplish that.
And I agree with Gary, just because, I mean, there's some people that already have these kind of containers out in my neck of the woods, and they're placed where they're not, an eyesore or anything like that. And again, it comes down to how big your operation is. And so I agree, by only limiting it to 2, that's a concern, depending on the size of the operation.
What's your thought, Vicki? 3 or 4?
I mean, me, I like to go big, so I'd prefer 4 all in. So.
Okay. For a big operation, I think.
I
that's
mean, seriously, yeah. Depending on how big the operation, if you're 7,000 to 10,000, acres, I mean, you could use every bit of that. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we change the shipping container limit to farming operations, which is SIC code 0102 to 4.
I'll second. Okay. How many? Just a question out of ignorance. How many? We're talking about the only time this is going to come up is if there's a complaint. How many complaints would you expect to have happen from agricultural uses? I wouldn't expect very many, if any.
Right. It all depends on what it looks like. I know Gary and Vicki have talked about sometimes they look nice. They've been
Sure.
taken care of or painted or landscaped or whatever, but no problem. It's just there's going to be a couple that'll be eyesores and people complain, but I don't know. What can you do?
Yeah. Well, and we have, to a degree, we have that now with, as Gary pointed out, with old rail cars or semi-trailers or things like that. So
right.
It's no different. Yeah. Okay.
What is the smallest size farm, if you will, acreage-wise? What can be deemed a farm or?
Gary, were you saying like 2,000 acres is medium?
Yeah, I'd say that's a small, but I'm not sure if that's Jackson's question. I think what determines a farming operation is the SIC code 01 or 02.
Right.
So my question to that, Gary, is can somebody have 2 acres and be considered a farm?
I don't think so. Not if they're not doing row crop. I mean, that's up to Kathy or the AO to make that determination, but I think that's under the parcelization and they're limited to 1.
2 acres is the smallest parcel. But 2 acres isn't enough land to live on.
Yeah, not to grow row crops.
Right.
And if the one, I'm comfortable with that. If they have some kind of special need, I drive by a farm this guy's doing vegetables. So maybe he's farming 10 acres, but he has a lot of stuff. But if he needs more than 1, he can come in and get a special, a variance for that.
Any other comments?
On the improvement location permit that we're saying they would need to get, so for those that are already out there, are they going to be grandfathered in?
They would be grandfathered. I wasn't sure if you would have, if you believe we need a definition for shipping containers. So I did put one together in case, I don't know, I feel like everyone knows what a shipping container is nowadays, but in case you wanted a definition to go in the ordinance, I did put one together, so.
Let's take the motion on the floor here first. Any other comments on raising the minimum from 2 to 4? All right. Eric, can I do a voice? Okay. All those in favor of raising the limit to 4, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that's a unanimous decision. Now, shipping container definition. What do you think? Do we need something in there for a definition?
I think that's an Eric Burns question. I'd say they're pretty standard because they're on ships and they're either 20 foot in length or 40 foot, and they're kind of all built the same.
Yeah, I agree that if we thought there was an upside risk, then maybe we would want something, but you're not going to get anything bigger than a storage container, I don't think. And so there's no risk from that standpoint. And so definitionally, it's nice to have, but I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
All right, so no definition. Hang on to that, Kathy. We may come back to it.
I was going to delete it, and I thought, no.
No. I do like in there your statement about what is not a shipping container, which is good too. All right. So we have an amended ordinance here. What are we ready to take this on to the full APC?
I'm thinking now that we're here and Kathy has a definition and it somehow describes things that are not shipping containers, is it worth just rolling that in now? So, you know, if somebody puts something in, I don't know. Does it make sense just to roll it in there now since Kathy's already created it? And then we're set and we don't have somebody putting some in and claiming it's shipping container and it's really not, but we haven't defined it. So
I think it's helpful to have it in there.
I'm sorry, Tom?
I think it's helpful to have that definition in there.
it helps the AOs out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Okay. All right. So, let's see.
I do have one question where it says rail cars. These are used in rail. Is that issue with the shipping container?
Jerry, I really think they're all the same thing. They come off the ship, they either go on a truck or on a rail car and get transported.
Okay.
I've not seen any that are different, but as time goes by, something may change.
Right. I'm just saying, when you say rail cars, they were rail cars. You know what I'm saying? And somebody could say, well, here's a rail car that was a shipping container and use it. I'm just a question.
Yeah, I think a shipping container that's on a train, I think we generally know what the difference is between that and a railroad car.
So you said that it was 20 feet or 40 feet? Could we specify that?
I don't know. Is this something that would likely change over time? Because if we say this is either 20 feet or 40 feet wide, and then they've got something that's 25 feet, then what is that? That's why I'd rather not have a measurement in there, but.
So I just did a quick Google search and it says shipping containers container with strength suitable to withstand shipment, storage, and handling. Shipping containers range from large reusable steel boxes used for international shipments, corrugated boxes.
Do we need a motion to include the definition in, or can we just, yes, okay. All right, Gary, I need a motion to put shipping container definition into.
Okay, I move that we include shipping containers to the proposed ordinance as submitted by Kathy.
I second.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Are those only rectangular, or could they be the round ones?
I've never seen a round one.
Must be
Yeah, there are some that are round, or they're flat on the bottom, but the top of them are rounded off.
I can say a rectangular unit.
I'm just asking. I'm asking.
I think you got it covered when you say hauling by container ship. The ones I've seen, they're standard.
Yeah.
They have to be standard.
Yeah, I think the definition does cover whatever shape it is, which is, if you're going to have a definition, you might as well make it as broad as possible.
Right.
And if we have a problem, we can always come back too.
Sure.
Okay, any other comments? All right, all those in favor of including the definition in the ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Now, any other comments here? Are we ready for a motion to send the amended ordinance to the full APC?
I'll make the motion. I move that we send to the full commission with our positive recommendation, the proposal for using storage and shipping containers it says as a garage has been amended.
I second.
Okay, any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that is a unanimous decision. Let me get back to my... Okay. Ryan, are there any citizens' comments for the ordinance committee?
We have none presently.
Okay. Give me 30 seconds for that, please.
Okay.
Do, 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 do.
Don't encourage Gary. He did that.
Yeah. Still no comments.
Thank you. Gary, I will, with if no one has any other comments, I'll take the final motion.
I move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. See y'all.
We'll see you on the 21st.
Thanks.